Hello guys, this is the 5 steps that you need to take in order to get a manufacturer that can actually produce your products and produce something that you can actually go ahead and sell. And if you've never done this sort of step before, or even if you have, and you need to find better suppliers, then this video is for you. By the way, my name is Sammy, and I've been consulting brands for the past 5 years now, and I've been able to produce amazing results such as this one, and essentially get them to massive numbers. So I know what works, I know what doesn't work, and a lot of brands are making mistakes that they're not aware of or they don't know how to solve, and I'm able to provide solutions based on that. But in this video, I'm going to cover essentially how to find the right suppliers so that you can go ahead and produce the best products that is in your brand image. And if you are indeed interested in working with me one-on-one, then I provide that service where I'll guide you how to find the best suppliers, how to market your brand, how to build the brand, and essentially get you to your target revenues. So if you're interested in that, then look in link in the description, and you'll see my Instagram profile where you can go ahead and DM me, and I'll determine if you're a good fit, and we can go from there and pretty much get started. So the first step in the 5 step process is essentially research. So what you need to do here is you need to go ahead and find out who these suppliers are and really look across the board and find the best one that you can. So the best place to do that is Alibaba, conventions, and directories. And when we start with Alibaba, for example, you find that this is a platform where you can go ahead and find suppliers. Usually they're in China or in other countries in Asia, and they are able to produce cheap product, but it's a high quality product as well. And when it comes to finding these suppliers, you need to go ahead and make sure that you're looking in the right places. So I'll show you just now how you go ahead and find these suppliers. So I'm in the Alibaba website, as you see, alibaba.com, and I've typed in this case, hoodies. And here you want to go ahead and make sure that you have Alibaba guaranteed on. And what this means is that you have select products that is going to have shipping included prices, guaranteed delivery dates, and guaranteed money back for order issues, right? So you want to have this selected so that you're not wasting your time. Also, you want to make sure you have trade assurance. This ensures that you're going to be also getting a fair price, and they're going to be showing you high quality suppliers at the end of the day. And most importantly, you also want to make sure that you have verified supplier also ticked. This makes sure that they're actually a verified supplier. They're not a supplier who is not experienced, or they just started out, so they're not really trusted like other suppliers. So it's important that you turn this on as well. So once you've done that, you also want to look at things such as MOQs, which I'll touch on later. But in terms of the filters, you also can filter based on price, minimum order quantity as well, the supplier and the region. And usually this is going to be in China most of the time. So you probably won't need to toggle this on or off, but there's sometimes can be options where you can produce the product in India, for example, or Pakistan. So just bear that in mind, as well as maybe other product certifications that you may also take into account. For example, GOTS or CE. So that can also be toggled on or off, as well as material. If you want a particular material, you can filter by that. And there's loads of other options depending on the product. In this case, because it's hoodies, they're going to be focusing more on the fabric type, which is obviously very important when you want to try and find a supplier. So there's loads of different filters that you can apply. Usually I would advise that you leave most of them off, because because sometimes it can't be 100% accurate, and you may be excluding suppliers who may have those features, but for some reason it's not being listed. So the main ones that you want to filter by is verified supplier, trade assurance, and Alibaba guaranteed. You also want to make sure that the supplier that you're going for is experienced. So for example, if you click on this one, which is pretty much the first one, you find that they are Alibaba guaranteed, so low price will be shipping included, and they are a multi-specialty supplier. So what this essentially means is that they're both a trading company and a manufacturer. Now, I highly recommend that you go for a manufacturer, because it means that you're going to be able to actually work with a supplier who can actually manufacture your products directly, instead of a trading company who has sort of like the middleman of the relationship between you and the manufacturer. So they'll be getting in the way of the transaction, and they're probably adding extra costs as well. So you want to be working with a manufacturer directly, and if they're multi-specialty, let's say they're both, that's fine as well. It's just that you want to be prioritizing working with a manufacturer, as it means that you have lower costs overall and you're able to have more control over the process. Another thing you also want to make sure is that they have at least 3 years of experience. Now, 2 years is sort of on the gray area. I would highly recommend that you go for a supplier that has over 3 years of experience, because it means that you're going to be able to work with suppliers with experience. They're going to make less mistakes, and they're going to be more competent in producing your product to the highest standard and the way you want it to be produced. So that's sort of the experience level that you want. If they're less than that, it means they're going to more likely make less mistakes. Their processing may be less refined, and that can obviously cause problems in the long run. So important that you work with a supplier that has over 3 years of experience. Now, the next place where you can do research, or an alternative place, is directories. This is a place where you can find an aggregate of a lot of different suppliers who can help out with producing your products. And there's multiple types of suppliers or directories that you can go to. For example, if you're based in the United States or Europe, there's some called Makers Row. You got ones called MFG and Compass as well, which are very good directories. And these places are able to provide you with a list of suppliers who can produce products that you potentially want. And with that, you can go ahead and contact them directly. So it's like it has all of the suppliers in one place, similar to Alibaba, but it can be more localized. So in the United States. Another place that you can go to as well is Oblo, AliExpress, DHgate. These are more like for overseas directories. So this will most likely be in China, and you have products being produced in China instead of more locally. And obviously there's advantages and disadvantages to this, and this is something that you obviously have to take into account. But these are different places that you can go to in order to find more suppliers that may not be on Alibaba or on Google. As well as, I highly recommend that you have at least 2 suppliers or manufacturers that you can go to when producing your product, because this helps you to hedge your risk. So if you work with one supplier, it means that if that supplier is not able to produce your product anymore, or there's some issues going on their side, it means that you have no plan B to fall back on. So you want to have multiple suppliers. For example, you can have one in the United States or your country of origin, and then you can have another one in China, so that you have a fallback option if there's any issues that arise. Now that you had done your research, the second part of the process is actually doing the outreach and collecting the information with the suppliers that you've gone ahead and researched and that you want to move forward with. And there are many different things that you need to be asking when it comes to doing the outreach and trying to determine whether or not they are actually the right supplier. So I've done a quick doc here going over all the things that you need to consider when it comes to reaching out to these suppliers and try to determine if they're a good fit for what you want to do. So the first thing you want to make sure that they are able to do is accommodate to your custom order. So do they have the resources and the skill level to produce your custom order if you are going down that route? Do they have the materials, the processes, as well as the equipment that is required for you to produce your unique product or produce your custom order? And also you want to ask, what are the MOQs? And you want to be able to negotiate this. Now, MOQs means minimum quantity order or minimum order quantity. And this essentially means how much can they produce of your product, or will they allow you to buy in bulk? So for example, if there's an MOQ of 10, it means that the minimum order quantity that they will produce for you is 10. If you say 9, then they will not accept that. So they have a minimum order quantity. And obviously the reason for this is because they want to make sure that they're not wasting their time and they're producing a lot of orders in bulk. So that's what that means. And eventually you want to negotiate this. So when it comes to a point where you're ready to do the transaction, you want to negotiate the minimum order quantity, you want to get it down so that you can have less risk on your side. And that's something that's very important, so that you can actually save costs and not be buying too much inventory, so you can actually test the market. Also, because of you having less inventory, it means you have less risk. You can test the market, like I mentioned, and it's going to be much more seamless for you to find out if this product is a good fit for the market. Also, you want to ask what are the lead times. So the lead times are essentially the shipping as well as the manufacturing times. So from the production site all the way to the customer, how long does it take for the product to be produced? And if you are producing it and you send it to a warehouse, that is essentially lead time as well. And if it takes 3 months or so for them to do that, then obviously this is not a good supplier to be working with. So you want to be able to find this out pretty much as soon as you can. And this is going to help you to determine whether or not they're a good supplier. And also you want to know their shipping costs. So their shipping costs will be tied to their lead time. So if it's a faster lead time, it tends to be more expensive. Really depends, but that can tend to be negotiated depending on how much leverage you have in the whole interaction. And when it is closer to the coast, for example, let's say you're producing the product in China and it's close to the Shenzhen region or closer to the coast where there's a lot of manufacturers there, then the cost is going to be a lot less than if it was produced in the mainland. So very important to take that into account. Also, you want to know what is the cost of the per unit. And this essentially means, well, how much does it cost to have one item shipped out if we're doing a bulk order? Usually the best practice is that the more you buy, the less you pay per unit. So let's say you buy 100 and it costs you $1,000. It means that it's $10 cost per unit. But if you buy more in bulk, this number can be good. Cost per unit cost can go down. So very important to take that into account, especially when you want to do bulk orders. You actually save a bit of money when you do this. So once you have done your test order, once you've tested the market and there's some proof of concept there, you want to go ahead and buy in bulk, and that's where you try and buy larger orders, right? So that you can save more when it comes to cost per unit. Also, you also want to know whether or not you can be granted exclusivity rights to the process or the product. Because if you're producing a unique product, you don't want your competitors to be using the same processes or the same product that you had to spend your time, money, and effort in producing. So you want to be able to negotiate this with the supplier as well, make sure that they're not using the same processes or the products or equipment that they're going to use with as your competitors. Another thing is you want to make sure there's no setup fees, or if there is any, what are these setup fees and how much are those setup fees? Let's say you're using some form of equipment that's quite unique or that they would have to go ahead and source themselves, then this may involve a setup fee, and you want to know the cost of those so you can understand how this ties into your cost of goods. Another thing, you want to see if they have a defect policy, and this would be in terms of what is the conditions when a product is shipped out to the warehouse or to yourself, and what happens if there's a defective product or defective shipment, or if it's incorrect. What are the terms in this situation? You want to go ahead and know what these are. And you also probably want to understand whether or not the manufacturer is sustainable. And obviously, this will be very important when you're working with these suppliers, because you want to make sure that they are going to have a very good process, make sure that they're ethical as well. So you want to know the age of the workers. You want to know if how much impact they're having on the environment. You want to know, do the workers have breaks? How ask these sort of questions to them so they have an understanding of the quality of their work environment. And when it comes to producing your products, you can use this as a unique selling point as well when you're marketing your product, saying you work with a sustainable supplier, and this is going to have sort of benefits when it comes to marketing. Also, when you are communicating with these suppliers, you may come into a situation where try to work with larger manufacturers that have more demand being placed on them, and so they may potentially reject you or may not want to work with you. So you need to bear that in mind and not take it personally. And that's why I said you need to reach out to multiple suppliers so that you have the ability to find one that is going to be able to fit your needs. Now, the next step, sort of the third sort of point in the process, is being able to communicate your designs. And you want to have sketches, sort of reference points as well, like reference images. And also you can have freelance designers who can help you to produce your sketches or your images and your designs so that the supplier can be able to see exactly what they need to produce for you. And where can you find these designers? You can find them on Upwork or Fiverr, and there'll be loads of them who will be happy to produce your designs at low cost, and they will be able to sort of meet your needs as well. And then you can go ahead and show them to the supplier, and they should be able to determine whether or not they can be able to produce your product or not. After you've done that, then the next step would be to order the samples. And you want to do this because you want to determine whether or not your order is going to be a good quality. And if it's not, then you can go ahead and make amendments. You can tell them to make improvements to the product before you start buying in bulk, because a lot of mistakes that brand owners make is that they try to buy in bulk before they do any samples, because they're confident that the product is going to be good quality, even though they haven't seen it in their hands yet. And so what happens is they buy in bulk, and then when they do that, they find out that 80% of the product that they bought is not the way they wanted it to be, so they just wasted a ton of money. So you always want to make sure that you're buying in bulk, you're buying samples first, rather, and that you're actually vetting how good the quality of the product is, and then trying to improve upon that. Now, this may be sort of time consuming. It may take extra time for you to do this. Maybe you have to ship out the product first. This may take 2 weeks, and then you have to make amendments. It may take another month or so. And this may be a slightly longer process, but in the long run, it's going to be much more effective, and it's going to actually yield rewards for you in the long run, because you're going to be producing a product that is actually going to be what you want it to be, and so there'll be less complications, and it means you can actually go ahead and buy in bulk, and means your customers will be happy with the product as well. And after you got ahead and been happy with your samples, and you gone ahead and made sure that it's actually good quality, and you have a product approval waiver, that's also another important point where you may want to have it in writing exactly how you want the product specifications to be, which is definitely something that you may need to do if you have a complicated product. The next step would be to actually go ahead and negotiate the cost of the order and the bulk order, and go ahead and truly find out how much can you actually get this order for. So what you want to do is, once you have gotten far in the negotiation or far in the conversation with your supplier, you want to then go ahead and find out, okay, what is the cost that you can buy this bulk order for? And then you want to go ahead and negotiate down. They need to give you a price first so you can be able to understand, okay, what is the ballpark figure for this? Usually I have it stated on the product page. So that's usually a rough figure which you can start from. But you want to negotiate this down as much as possible, because they obviously want to get have a high figure on their side. So you want to go down as much as possible as well, and make sure that it's actually mutually beneficial for you as well. But obviously you don't want to go too low, because it means it's not worth it for them, and they'll just end up rejecting the whole order. So you want to make sure that you are meeting middle ground for them, or with them, and then from that point on, you can go ahead and start to buy the order. Obviously, the final step is to place your order. You want to do a 100% quality control inspection, and this is done automatically by the manufacturer. They have a third party who comes in to monitor the whole process and the quality of the product and the order, so that if there's any issues, you'll be informed about that. But if there's no issues, then you're pretty much done with the whole process, and they'll ship out the product and the order to you or your warehouse, and you can go ahead and start selling it from there. But this is pretty much the whole process. If you want help with sort of the intricacies of this, because I went through a lot, I recommend that you go ahead and rewatch this video so you understand the steps. And if you want more help with that, maybe you're stuck with this process that you're currently in, and you're not sure how to find the right supplier, or you need help with finding the best suppliers, making the whole process a lot more seamless and quicker, and then subsequently going ahead and marketing the product with a branded store with effective marketing, which I've been able to do with brands around the world, to get them to 6 and 7 figures, then make sure to DM me on Instagram, and I'll see if you're a good fit. So Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram as well as on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next video.